Welcome to Meet Me Where I Am, the podcast where we examine what we believe, how we think, and why that matters. Each week, we break down a common logical fallacy, explore how it shows up in real life, and use street epistemology to ask better questions, not to win debates, but to build understanding. Whether you're a curious skeptic, a lifelong learner, or someone who just wants to have better conversations, you're in the right place. Let's learn ways to have those difficult conversations and build better relationships. Thank you for listening to Meet Me Where I Am. My mom and I were talking on Friday afternoon, July 4th, when she told me something that she had just seen in the news. Our conversation kind of starts right in the middle. So I just want to preface it by saying that we had only been talking about the events of the day. And then we segue directly into our logical fallacy of the day, which is appeal to emotion. After we've successfully covered that, we will discuss the word homosexual in the Bible, the history of that, and what it has done to the world today. So also, I was eating a chocolate granola bar. Sorry about that.
What is that?
Can you please repeat what you just said? About what the president of the United States just said.
So, yeah. So
we'll post the source.
Yeah. I mean, evidently he gave a talk in Iowa. I don't know if it's today or yesterday, but I just saw this on a Facebook post where he said that the Democrats, like none of the Democrats, voted for his big, beautiful bill and that they hate me and, well, I hate them too. So basically he just said, I hate half of the country. And this is like, and people were on there going, oh, well, yeah, you guys have made no qualms about saying that you hate him all this time and everything. So what's the problem? And like, the problem here, mister, is that
we're civilians.
Have never said that. I'm a civilian. This guy is leading the country, and that country includes everyone, Republican, Democrats,
He's
independent, people who don't vote, children,
president to everyone. Yeah. You know what? I didn't like him winning the second time around. I get that. Mm-hmm. I was still willing to meet half the country where they are. And he literally just said that he hates the Democrats who didn't vote for his bill, knowing full well all of the things that are included in it and why they couldn't. Like it's just, that is a sensational way to segue into our appeal to emotion, which is our logical fallacy of the day.
All right, let's do it.
President Trump does this a lot. And truthfully, a lot of politicians do. It is okay. Like, we see it everywhere, all across the political spectrum. Okay, so appeal to emotion is when you are trying to dismiss facts and evidence and get someone to accept your reasoning based off of their emotions. So examples of that would be like, my children won't finish their meal. And I say to them, now kids, there are starving children in Africa that aren't going to get to eat, and you should finish your food. Okay.
Never heard that one before.
Right. Totally. It's an appeal to pity, right? So like we should pity them. But as many children have pointed out over the many years that excuse has been used, it doesn't actually directly affect the children in Africa if this child eats their food or not, you know?
Right.
And if the child pushes back and says, well, can't we just send this food to the children in Africa? Then it starts a whole other thing. So another good reason for your child to finish their food, besides trying to appeal to their emotion and get them to eat it because they're sad about the people in Africa, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Would be to point out, hey, we're going to try not to waste food in our family. Okay.
Right.
Or like, let's finish our food so that we can get on with our day or whatever. Like, don't make it about children in Africa. Right. Like, there's no reason to do that. Another emotion that people commonly use is fear. People like to appeal to fear. And I hear this all the time on all of the major news stations, trying to appeal to people's fear for certain things. Like if it's a fear that if you don't adopt my stance, then something bad will happen to you. So like if you go to Chicago, very liberal city, there are people like with guns everywhere, and it's just anarchy, and like you really need to watch where you're going. Like, to be honest, everyone should watch where you're going no matter where you are in the world, right? You should have a good understanding of where your surroundings are, right? You should not put yourself in positions where you would potentially be, you know what I'm saying? So appealing to someone's fear of getting jumped, like we'll get them to not go to the city, right? But it also disproves or tries to erase the facts and evidence. The facts and evidence being that millions of people live in the city, and even if there's a crime rate, every city has a crime rate.
Every city has a crime rate.
It's not like Chicago is more dangerous than any other city.
People really don't realize this, but a lot of crimes in the last 30 years throughout the country have gone way down. There's not as many people being murdered. There's not as many robberies. It's gone way down. It's a trend. Yeah.
So crime is not up.
No.
But a lot of people use that fear of crime being crazy and your family will get hurt if you don't, adopt our viewpoint.
Right.
And that is what they're doing. They are trying to appeal to your emotion. Okay. Another classic example, I will say advertisers use the appeal to emotion because it does a lot of the groundwork without giving a lot of facts. Okay. It literally does. It makes them try to adopt that stance by emotion alone. Okay.
Advertisers
do that.
You want to look beautiful?
Sarah McLachlan. No. Sarah McLachlan. I will remember you.
Okay.
Will you remember me?
Oh.
Please donate now. These poor, helpless cats and dogs need your money. Don't let your life. Yeah, exactly. They're appealing to your emotion. They want to get your money so that, and then they do. They need your money, obviously, because they're trying to rescue homeless pets. Totally fine, totally valid. I'm not saying that, but they are appealing to your emotion. Does that make sense?
Right. Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to make up all that groundwork and getting you to just call in now in the next 5 minutes, and you will get this magical T-shirt that makes it all better.
Right. Well, and in logical fallacy sense, obviously there are animals out there that need help. Right. So
absolutely. I'm not saying that there's not. I'm just saying that advertisers use appeal to emotion in their commercials, again, to get the fastest point across. The fastest point is we need your money and you should send this because you feel bad about the animals.
Right.
Totally. Like that's marketing 101, right? Mm-hmm. Like get them to call in right away. So like, I didn't take marketing 101. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I'll stay in my lane. So like I said, advertisers just have 10 seconds of your time. They need you to make a decision about their thing in the next 10 seconds. And the fastest way to do that is to appeal to your emotions.
Call this number
everyone's
today.
Got them. Everybody's got emotions. Everybody's emotional. So the best way to combat the appeal to emotion
in an argument,
in an argument or in a discussion is to take a deep breath. And like, don't like you can acknowledge that that's what they're trying to do.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. Should my sadness for this event negate all of the facts and evidence in front of me? No, of course not. Of course, you should use the facts and evidence to make a logical decision, right? Like you shouldn't base any decisions that you have strictly on emotion, right?
So we are emotional creatures, and we can be touched. And so it's best in these situations, what you're saying is just to kind of take a deep breath and realize that that's what's happening. And do you want that to happen, or do you want to stick with the facts and the logic and the reasoning? Right.
Exactly. They're trying to elicit a reaction out of you. And many times it's like, it feels manipulative because it is. That's what logical fallacies are. They're manipulating the conversation to go where they want it to go.
Knowing or unknowingly. Right.
Exactly.
I would wonder.
I think a lot of people appeal to emotion without even realizing that that's what they're doing. You know, like I've done that before. Like, I don't know. I don't parent through fear. I will say that. I don't parent through fear. Like, I'm going to hit you. If you don't do this,
you're going to be grounded for a week.
I don't threaten them with a stick or anything like you used to do. It was a yardstick. It was a yardstick.
Yardstick. Oh my God.
To be fair, I don't think you ever used it. It was always just a threat. The threat was very real, even though the threat was not real.
Right.
You were very convincing.
I think I remember one time where I used it. That one time.
Okay, so it obviously left a lasting impression.
It shocked you and Nathan at the time because you guys were fighting and you just wouldn't stop. And I warned you, and I tried to talk you, and they're like, "What's going on? And why are you doing this?" And so finally, I just said, "I got to do this." So
Aristotle said that you need to use logic and rhetoric to persuade somebody. I thought that was very interesting. Logic and rhetoric, so not one or the other. Another example of appealing to fear is if you don't believe in God, then you are going to go to hell. So you should believe in God. It's not enough to just threaten them. Like, are you going to show them the way to believe in God? Like, take them to church with you, that sort of thing, or are you just telling them, to do all of that legwork without actually doing any of it? Another one I thought that was really interesting. I'm sorry, The Godfather. Okay. I made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Oh.
All right. So while the fear of dying might be enough of a motivator to do whatever, like to make you do whatever the Godfather wants you to do, because the threat is logical and genuine,
right? I'm going to kill you.
It becomes a powerful motivator,
right?
Right. When it becomes illogical, like they will kill you and it is genuine, they're definitely going to kill you. Then it'll make you do whatever. Right. But that's not, it's kind of appealing to emotion, but it's also like you know what I mean? Like they're threatening.
Right. And when you can appeal to emotion, you can appeal to many different emotions like fear and love and disgust and empathy.
One that I didn't bring up yet was pride. An example of someone appealing to your pride is like, "Oh, you're too smart to believe that." It's an appeal to pride because it's appealing to the thought that everyone wants to be considered intelligent, right? But it has nothing to do with the statement or issue at hand. It has nothing to do with anything. Like it's just someone stating a comment about like trying to appeal to the fact that you might, have been duped. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought you fell for that. Oh my God.
Oh, you're too smart to fall for that.
It might make up a lot of the groundwork.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So while emotions are important and relevant in many aspects of life, when emotion is used to distract from evidence and logical argument in an attempt to get someone to believe a point then it's just someone appealing to your emotions.
Right.
So
Yes.
it is when they are trying to negate facts and evidence.
Right. It's the error in reasoning again.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That, we are emotional beings, and there are times when we do it ourselves, appeal to someone's emotions about something. Well, I wish you would come today. I miss you. I haven't seen you for a month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll drive down to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can guilt someone into doing something, or you
Guilt
can,
is an emotion. Is it
an
not?
emotion.
Or is it? Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Taking someone on a guilt trip. Yeah, definitely. You know that that's what you're doing. You know that's what you're doing.
Pack your bags. Yep. Going on a guilt trip. For sure. So cool.
So yeah. So that about covers it.
All right.
The best way to fight it is to just control your emotions. And I know that that's really, really hard. I personally have adopted meditation techniques and ways to center myself and ground myself. Because I find that if I'm ungrounded, I'm kind of really emotional.
Right.
When I don't feel connected to the earth, I get like super emotional. So I just do grounding techniques. You can Google that, grounding techniques, meditation.
Okay.
Or breathing techniques. My go-to, and this is so simple. So every time you inhale, you count an odd number. And when you exhale, you count an even number, and you just go up to 10. And then when you get to 10, you start over. So 1, 2, and you go up to 10. So it's 5 deep breaths.
Okay.
5 deep breaths. But the focus, when you're focusing on the numbers, it's something about it. Just focusing on the numbers, it makes you kind of like a nice quiet calm comes over you. I don't know, like it erases all the anxiety and stuff that's going on in your brain, because it's like focusing on doing numbers and just the numbers and the breathing right now. Like,
right.
So
right.
It's a really
this is a meditation where you don't want to clear your mind. You want to put something in there, but nothing that's going to make you go deeper into the...
Exactly, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, we're just going to come back, center ourselves.
Right.
Yes, exactly. So...
Oh, I just thought of another appeal to emotion.
What's that?
Like when little kids are like, but mommy, I want it so much. Why won't you do it for it? You don't love me.
Oh my God. You're right. You're right.
Children do it. They picked it up on their own.
I don't know how to make food.
I know somebody who's really good at that too. I have a granddaughter who used to. She might still, like, if you told her the words N-O, and she would just start bawling.
Oh yeah. Well, we had to stop using that word entirely in our house, and that sounds weird. It sounds weird. Okay, and I'm not saying like we replace it with something else. It's not like we're saying "ner" instead of "no."
Yeah,
we found other ways to steer her in other directions. Instead of saying "no, you can't do that," we were like, "Let's do this instead." You know, like that.
Exactly.
So it was very much that. But but she still does that. She still knows, and she's also going through hormonal changes. So the emotions are unchecked.
Ah, I see. And that's another thing too that I think that I think as I get older, I'm like, obviously we're emotional creatures, but I feel like the younger you are, the more emotional you are. Because I feel like I was way more emotional in my 20s than I am now.
Yeah. I think that like all of the emotion and all the experiences that you had when you were emotional in your 20s have led you to be the person you are today. So like, yeah, you acknowledge that like you wasted a lot of energy on a lot of emotions that really didn't serve you. Right. And that's perfectly fine. Right. And yeah, you learn and grow, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So and be mindful of the people that you're having those conversations with. If there are people that are getting emotional, end the conversation.
Maybe
be like, you know what? Let's talk about this later. Don't say no.
Yeah.
Don't say no. Say, let's table this.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about this in a little while when we've had a deep breath. Yeah. So appeal to emotion.
Listen to our podcast because we're awesome and you will love it and it will make you feel good.
It'll make you feel good. It'll make you warm and fuzzy inside.
Pass it around. Pass it around.
Pass it around. Tell everyone.
Find us on social media at Meet Me Where I Am on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. You may also email us at meetmewhereiampod@gmail.com. If you leave a review, please don't be anonymous. We'd love to hear what you have to say so we can meet you where you are.
What do we have on the agenda today, Mom? Tell us the
have
news.
Have you personally, and you, the audience, ever questioned the Bible? For instance, have you ever questioned who wrote it? When they wrote it? Is it interpreted correctly?
Yeah, right.
Why do we have these specific books in the Bible and not other books in the Bible? So this is one of those instances of that kind of situation. I follow this guy on Facebook, and his name is Father Nathan Monk. So Sunday, June 29th, he puts out an article that said the word homosexual never appeared in any translation of the Bible until 1946.
Wow.
So Father Nathan Monk was a Catholic priest, and he's no longer a priest, and he identifies as queer. Okay. So he starts his article talking about a time when he was in Sunday school and he asked his Sunday school teacher a question. Now, usually when you ask them a question, they give you a scripture or they give you a theological answer, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, in this particular day, they said, God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. The problem with this is that it brings up this theological problem of the Bible inerrancy. In other words, the Bible's just perfect the way it is, and how can you question it? God said it, that's it, right? Still have
like
today, you know, how Christianity, a lot of people think that just Christianity just grew up like the trunk of a tree, but it didn't. It has all these different branches off it, right? So Christianity is a big thing, but there's all these denominations and all these different sects and all these different branches. So
and they all kind of have the similar views, but different ways of celebrating
a lot of completely different things. In other words, the Bible is kind of open to interpretation. In other words, like the young earth creationist believed that that God created the earth 6,000 years ago, and that it took him
6,000 years?
6,000 years ago, and that it literally took him 6 24-hour days, okay? And then there's some people who adhere to the day age theory, which is like, well, we don't really know how long a year is for God, or a day is for God. So maybe he did the Big Bang. Maybe it took 20 million years before he created man. Maybe it took 20 million, you know, that kind of thing. So it's called the day age.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
So like he created the dinosaurs and then paused for a moment.
Whatever.
But paused for a day.
Yeah.
And then got it.
So some people believe that. Some people believe that, you know, there's going to be a great tribulation and we're going to be raptured. Those of us who are going to be saved are going to be raptured. But some people believe
and taken to
heaven. Right.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
So some of us are going to be raptured. So some people believe that we'll be raptured before the tribulation. Some people believe it's during the tribulation. Some people believe it's after the tribulation. So now I'm going to read one of his paragraphs because I think it's important to put it in these words. So how did we get here? How did we become a church less concerned about the orphans and widows and hyper-focused on who someone, you know, makes love to? It seemed a maddening case of do as I say and not as I do. The Bible is literal except when it is inconvenient to my life, choices, and personal liberty. However, for you and everyone else, the scripture is myopic. So the question is, what if God didn't say it? But you still believe it, and then millions of people have died and been affected negatively from this, right?
Yeah.
So this is where we come to, how did this happen? Okay, how did this happen is in 1929, there was a group called the National Council of the Churches of Christ in the USA. And what they said, and if you're familiar with it, basically with the King James Version came out in 1611, and for like 300 years, that was pretty much it, right?
The main one, right?
Okay. If you are familiar with
the Catholics use that too.
I don't know about that. If you understand the language of the King James Version, it's now 400 years old, and it's kind of Old English, so it's kind of hard to understand. So what they did was they said, hey, let's revise this so it's putting it in more modern day language. So on this committee, there were 30 men, and they were from 10 different denominations, Presbyterians, Methodists, Southern Baptists, Quakers, Lutherans. As a matter of fact, I don't think Catholics were part of it. Okay?
Ooh,
I think they kind of have their own thing going. Yeah, I think
they probably didn't want to be included. They're like, no, we lost our invitation.
Yeah. So what happened is that they They released the New Testament version of the Bible, of the Revised Standard Version, in 1946, and then in 1952 they released the full text. Right. So when this Bible comes out, there was some controversy about it. Some people were like, "What's wrong with the King James Version?" I know personally, my mother, even in the 70s and 80s, still thought the King James Version was just the best thing. And she didn't like that I got the Revised Standard Version. I got this Bible for my confirmation, and she was not happy with that. But so there was some protest. But some people said, this is great. We can understand this better. This is awesome. And one of the specific people that said, this is great and I'm going to give away these Bibles now, was a person that might be familiar to some of you, and you might have heard of this, especially if you're in my age group, because this guy was on TV all the time preaching, and his name was Billy Graham.
Billy Graham.
Billy Graham. So he gave away millions of these Bibles. There was this guy who was a young seminarian, and he wrote a letter to the head of this committee, Dr. Luther Weigel. This guy's name was David Furon. He wrote this letter, and he said, I really think you really want to consider this word, because I don't think it means what you think it means. You know what I mean?
That word means what you think it means.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yes.
And so he said basically in his letter that this could become a sacred weapon for extreme literalists, even clergy. Okay.
Oh, no.
But at this particular time, it had already been translated. The Revised Standard Version was used to translate into other versions. Okay?
Yes.
So that word that he questioned was homosexual. Should you have used this? Right. So now.
Wait. So the Revised Standard Version.
Mm-hmm.
Added the word?
They didn't add the word. They took the context of the original
translation
text, translated
it to homosexual
instead of what it had been before. Okay,
got it. Okay, so thank you.
So where this happened was in 1 Corinthians 6:9-11. Okay, now if you understand anything about the New Testament, you understand that there are the Gospels and then there are epistles. So Paul, right? He was a big Christian guy, and a lot of people said, "Well, Paul, what do you think? Paul, what do you think?" So he wrote letters to Corinthians, Ephesians, Theologians, the Romans. He wrote all these things.
He was busy.
He was a busy guy. So here's the thing. It was in 1 Corinthians. So this is a letter that he wrote to them. But the problem that we have with understanding what he meant is we don't have what they ask him. We don't have their letter to him.
We don't have their list of questions and what he's responding to.
Right. So it's kind of like when you have a Facebook post and you see somebody say something and you're reading the comments now, and somebody said, "Well, you said this and da-da-da." Now you can go back up and look and see whether they actually said what the person said they said or not. But in this case, we can't. We're just looking at the comment section. We don't have the original post. We don't know what he's responding to. So that's part of the problem with this context, right?
The OP is missing.
It's missing. So what he said, what David told Dr. Weigel, is that by putting this word, that it was not only bad theology, but irresponsible exegesis. Now, what is exegesis?
I have no idea.
I know. It's a word that I... Yeah. Exegesis and hermeneutics. We're not going to talk about that either. It's a critical explanation or interpretation of text. Well, what he's basically saying is, I don't think you should use the word homosexual for this word. What is the word? The word is arsenokoitai. Okay? Arsenokoitai. Arsenokoitai. Basically, what he did was he took two words that were in Leviticus and he kind of smunched them together. Because when scholars and people said, well, trying to figure out what he meant, tried to go back to other texts of the time period, and all they could
find similar things.
So they could get some context. What does this mean? Because a word itself...
where else is it said?
A word itself isn't meaningful unless you get it into the context of the day. What was Paul condemning when he said arsenokoitai, right? And most scholars of today think that it really stood for abusers of men. The technical translation is man bed, but it was abusers of men. That it wasn't about men sleeping with men. It was about adult men sleeping with boys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he put this word in 1 Corinthians and 1 Timothy, but in the letter that he wrote to the Romans, Romans 1, he didn't mention this word. But what he's basically addressing in all these other passages is forced ritualistic sex. So instead of it being a condemnation of same-sex relationship, if you pull back a little bit and look at the context, what he's really saying is that these rituals and practices that other religions of idolatry and animal abuse and sacrifice and underage boys with men, those were the things he was talking about, right?
Okay. So the R word, don't R word people.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. So, right. And so, basically what he was saying, like, you don't need to do this to get close to God. Why don't you just pray instead? Okay.
Okay.
So at this particular time in 1971, is when the Revised Standard Version. But it had been out from 1946 to 1971 for like 25 years at the current version. But when they did change it, so Dr. Weigel and David Fearon exchanged 3 letters in which he agreed that they probably had used the wrong word and they probably shouldn't use it, and that they would make a correction. But unfortunately, they didn't republish the updated version until 1971. Okay. And when they did,
Wait, I'm sorry. When did they go and say that they would, what year was it when they said like, oh yeah, so sorry about that, my bad. What year was that?
59 was when they, Dr. Weigel and David Fearon exchanged those letters. And he said, I will bring it up to the committee.
And it took another 10 years?
It took another 12 years for it to be actually published and changed. And when they did it, they didn't issue a public apology. They didn't make any acknowledgement. They didn't say we're retracting this. It was an error. So how did this come to be a really big issue in the United States? This word wasn't in the Bible until 1946. And then it was, and then people started picking it up, and then it became popular, and then other versions in the 70s used the same word, and then they put it in other places too. They put it in Romans in either 1953 or 1973. Then they changed the Timothy one in the 70s to say homosexual, and then they did the Leviticus in 1971. Okay, so then so now there's like these 5
they
or
did
6.
The old switcheroo, like okay, we won't say it there, but like everywhere else is
5
fine.
or 6 places now, and they're called the clobber verses. So what happened? How did this become an issue in the United States? So in 1981, there was a group of men who were becoming infected with a novel virus. Now, we're familiar with novel viruses, which means they're brand new and nobody knows what they are or where they came from or how to, right?
And there's no vaccine.
Mm-hmm. So it was a deadly illness, and it was basically found among intravenous drug users, prostitutes, and gay men. Now, by this point, you probably already think you know what it is, and you're probably right. But let's look at how did the church handle this? You know, because usually, like even in the 14th century during the Black Death, right, priests were like frontline workers. They were the ones that were going out and taking care of sick people, making sure they had food, burying the dead bodies, right? And like there's estimated that 42% of priests during that time died from the plague as well, right? So instead, what the church did in 1991 was said, well, would it be that bad if we didn't have heroin addicts and hookers and homosexuals anymore? I mean, after 91? 81.
Jeez, 81.
81.
My God.
So you have to understand that even though throughout the centuries that this had been interpreted to mean something else, Leviticus says that the punishment for being gay is death. Okay? Wow. And Paul condemns these things too, saying the wages of sin is death. So what happens is the moral majority picks this up and says, well, AIDS is just a natural consequence in the nature of sin.
Oh, my God. That is
right? It's your fault. You shouldn't have done these things. That's why God is punishing you. I've heard those things.
That's lovely. That's really lovely.
Another aspect is that the president at the time, who was heavily, evangelicals heavily followed him and elected him, right, was Ronald Reagan. And he did not acknowledge.
Ronald Reagan? The actor?
The actor?
Who was his Secretary of Defense? Jerry Lee Lewis? Not Jerry Lee, Jerry Lewis. I don't know why I said Jerry Lee. Sorry. Continue. Sorry.
Yep, the actor. It wasn't until the fall of 1985, Back to the Future, that Ronald Reagan even acknowledged it, right? Like he wasn't doing anything for 4 years. And then he finally said, okay, we're going to do something. And so at
he
the
didn't
time,
make a comment about
I don't know,
about those people. Like he literally did not, like, you mean his first 4 years in office, he did nothing.
I don't think he didn't like have research funding or whatever. Try to,
okay. Thank you.
And so, so the virus was allowed to take off, and now it's estimated that between 33 and 51 million people have died to date, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how this is still going on, right? This all started with this book, this thing happened, that thing happened. Okay, so
it's all connected.
So how did we find out about this letter? So after the National Council of the Churches in the USA finished everything, they took all their notes and papers and everything, and they boxed it up and they put it at the Sterling Memorial Library at Yale University. So still, it's in a box. It's been there for 60 years. Who discovered it?
Do you need to have some sort of Yale ID to get to access this?
I think it's possible.
Public access?
I think it's possible that it's public, but you do have to get like a library card.
Okay.
So who did find it? The people that found it is Kathy Baldock and Ed Oxford. Now, who's Kathy?
And when was this? Did they find it?
I think it was 2018. And so Kathy, she was going through a divorce she was around 40 years old and going through a divorce in the early 2000s. And she needed some peace of mind, so she started going to Canyon Walk. She lives in like Reno, Nevada, and she met a lady named Nito Montoya. She killed my father. Anyway,
no.
Her last name is Montoya.
I was like, what?
Yeah, for real.
There's no way.
So she befriended her because she would see her walking on the same paths, and she finally said, let's walk together. And
that's good.
She soon realized, now she's heavily Christian and she knows that she usually is open about it and everything, but she noticed that she had like some rainbow thing in her car. So she's like, I think this woman is gay. And she's also a Native American, right? So she's gay, color, right?
Triple threat. Got it.
Triple threat. But she just kind of let it lie because she really wanted somebody to talk to about her divorce, and she really couldn't talk to anybody else. So they just became quick friends. And sooner or later, she just had this question of like, how could God not love this person? How could he not accept them into his fold? Because I mean, like, he created this, so why would he reject this person?
This person that's having this real big impact on her life,
right?
Like how could my God dismiss this person here? I don't get it. Yeah,
so
that's a good question.
She started doing research, and that's when she also was working. She met Ed Oxford, who's a gay man, and they began researching this together. And so
she's a good friend.
Yeah,
I just want to say that she's a very good friend.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good friend.
Jeez,
totally.
Louise.
Yes.
She wins the prize.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
So she starts working with Ed, and he, I guess it was around 2018, he said, the National Council of Churches left all this boxes of their notes and stuff in, because she wanted to understand why they used this word. Like, she already knew this was the problem. She figured out through her research that this wasn't in the Bible, but she didn't understand why
she pinpointed the time that it happened, but couldn't figure out why.
Right. Yeah. Right. Because she knew it wasn't in there before, and she didn't understand how come they translate. So
why did they
Ed
switch
says, hey, you know what? They have the boxes up there. You want to go look. So he gets a library card. They go up there. It's like 2018. And after they were there for
they're in the back of a, back room.
They were actually in the basement at this time because they were looking at microfiche, right?
So, yeah. So picture like Stranger Things. They're in the basement at the that's exactly what they did in the season 4 of Stranger Things.
It wasn't that dark, but yeah, it's like Stranger Things or like Ghostbusters. Woo. So 3 days they find the letters. they find that David wrote to Dr. Weigel. Dr. Weigel wrote back, and then he wrote again, and then he wrote back, and then he wrote again.
So they found all the letters.
They found all 6 letters. She was giving talks at the time, and the one that I watched, she literally said, "We just found this thing last week," or "We just found the guy last week." One of the two. Wow. Anyway, it was so. Somebody else found out about it, and they said, hey, I'm gay, and my dad's a minister, and I want to do a documentary. So they did a documentary about this story, and it's called 1946, The Mistranslation That Shifted a Culture. And that came out in like 2022 or 2023. Okay. And so...
Sounds like interesting viewing that we should check out.
It is, and I watched it, and it's an hour and a half long. My mind was blown in many ways over this whole researching of this whole thing. I can tell you
she
all the
fell
things
down the rabbit hole.
I fell down a rabbit hole.
Completely submerged totally.
Read this article on partly on Sunday and then Monday, talked to you Tuesday morning, and then all Tuesday night, all day Wednesday, and most of the day Thursday was like compiling this process.
Yeah, trying to get an outline and everything. Yeah, you're doing good work, Mom. You're doing good work.
So I guess
we can tell that you've been doing a lot of work. Okay, so go on.
So the thing is that since this came out, and even before, when people were questioning this translation, even before they found these letters, right? There are people who's like, so what are we supposed to do? Just chuck years of tradition, that
get closer to the mic, Mom.
So what are we supposed to do? Just chuck years of tradition, because of just one letter? So the thing about it is that most people don't realize that most of the Paul letters were about scandals of the time, and people forget that Protestantism pretty much started because of Martin Luther. What did he do? He posted these, what they call the 95 Theses, which are like 95 questions on the door of the Catholic Church, and said, hey, I don't know if we're getting this theology right. Like, I have these questions, and they just said, bye, see you later, you and your followers.
Luther's like, hey, look, I want to be a good Christian. Can you explain these things to me? And the church is like, no, get out of here.
Right.
And then he's like, okay, what do I do now? And I guess I start my own religion. Peace.
He actually didn't want to.
No,
he didn't. He didn't.
Okay.
He wanted to remain in the Catholic. He wanted the answers. He wanted the change.
Of course he did. He did.
Yeah. No, they were the ones who said, don't bother.
They dismissed him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like
so now it's just like, well, the letters of Paul are set in stone, and it's a theological impossibility that anyone even questions this now, like, for real. Just because this guy wrote a letter, whatever, big deal, right? Now,
what's this guy's?
Paul is writing letters too, right? So it's the same kind of thing.
You're right, and they were just as, even if they're old letters. Sure, he was still writing letters, though.
Right. Most of the Gospels and the epistles are actually written by Jewish people who were deconstructing their faith. If you understand, Jews don't believe Christ is the Savior. All right? So they were deconstructing their faith. So this is how the church started, right? So yeah, we're not saying that they're exactly the same, but at the same time, shouldn't we want this to be correct? And also, this is one of the final notes on this. Jesus never said anything about homosexuality. What he did say was, take care of the hungry and the thirsty and the foreigner and the naked and the sick and the prisoner.
In like not so many words, right?
And so, right, not so many words. So, in other words,
no, I'm kidding.
This specific translation and this issue has affected millions of people worldwide. Murder, death,
persecution,
suicide, discrimination,
yep,
all of
it. Yep, and with the backbone of your religious beliefs, like giving you that staunch, like, yeah, I'm going to call this person a complete blah, 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 blah. I don't even want to say anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have that much belief in the thing that they're reading, that they're going to be mean and awful to the people in front of them?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I mean, I thought, Jesus said, pray for the sinners and those that persecute you, but yeah.
So that's interesting that you say Jesus didn't mention homosexuals.
He did not
or
bring it up.
Anything at all. All he said was love each other, stop killing each other,
love
be
thy
nice.
neighbor as thyself and pray for those that persecute you. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's a nice message,
So the reason I want to go ahead.
What would they change it to? Do you know what they would change it to?
They actually did change it. And the new version says, I think, sexual pervert or perverted sex, something like that.
Interesting.
When they updated it in 1971, that's what they changed it to. In Corinthians.
I see.
Yeah.
So it was only in the advanced standard version. Is that what you said?
Revised standard version.
Revised standard version.
Which
it was only in that for 20 years.
24 years they released
24
the New
years.
Testament, and that was the first place they put it was in Corinthians, which is in the New Testament. Yeah.
Got it.
25 years. However, remember this too, and I told you this the other day, is that I still have my Revised Standard Version Bible. I still have the version that has this verse in it. Okay?
Yeah.
Because people hold on to their Bibles. My mom had the same Bible, so just because it was revised again in 1971, people don't go buy new Bibles every year. Like my dad he didn't buy one every year, but he probably bought a new one every 10 years because he used it every day.
Because he used it every day.
He
was constantly reading
and then he got the big print version because, he would have eyesight and that
made
kind
it
of
more
stuff.
accessible.
So people hold on to these things. So I still have my Revised Stand version that has this translation in it.
Not to mention they are in, bookstores and thrift bookstores across the nation and across the world.
And not to mention that it was used to make other translations that were made in the 70s and 80s and 90s.
And like you said, Billy Graham really pushed the sale of those Bibles. So right.
So
the damage has been done.
The damage has been done. And
the damage has been widely done.
So the reason I wanted to talk about it in the context of our podcast is that I've questioned the Bible for a long time. And I've questioned all of those questions they had at the beginning of questions I've had. And I'm not saying that you have to do this, but I'm saying, have you ever done it? And, do you believe that the Bible is completely inerrant, that the only perfect thing in the world, and that even though man has had their hands all over it, that there's no mistakes whatsoever? In my view, that isn't a very logical or reasonable thing to think. But that's why I'm bringing it up today. This is a thing that I think if this is important to you, you might want to have some resources to address this for yourself. So Kathy Baldock is the person who found these letters, and she has a website called CanyonWalkerConnections.com, and she started that website in 2009. She also wrote a book called Walking the Bridgeless Canyon, and this is about the gay community within the church. Okay, she is part, and in the documentary 1946, The Mistranslation That Shifted a Culture. Now, I think that you can find a link to that documentary on that Canyon Connections website. It is not available on Netflix. It is only available on like Amazon, and like you can watch it on the 1946themovie.com. I think have. And you have to pay for it. I just bought the movie on Amazon. Oh, and it's also on Amazon UK. So. But it's not like anywhere else. Not on Hulu. It's not on any of those other streaming services.
If we have any listeners in the UK, hi.
Yeah, that'd be great. Also, I want to say that I watched, to prepare for this, a couple of Kathy's videos that she was doing these talks. It's 2 nights, and it was right after they either found the letter or found David Fearon was still alive, and they're from 2018, and they're on YouTube, and they're called Unclobbering the Tangled Mess, and it's parts 1 and 2, and they are 2 hours and 15 minutes each. Oh. She has a book. I talked to the lady who found David Fearon. Her name is Tina Wood. Thank you, Tina. And she told me that Kathy wanted that book to come out like in the early 2020s, but you know what happened? It was a pandemic, and then her mom died, and then things happened and everything. So, but she has the book. It is now at the editors, and it should be out this fall. And it's called "Forging a Sacred Weapon: How the Bible Became Anti-Gay." So you can look for that in the fall of 2025. And I also want to leave you with some resources for if you are LGBTQ and you want to find a friendly church. You can look at the reformationproject.org, Q Christian Fellowship, it's qchristian.org, gaychurch.org, and churchclarity.org.
I think that's great that you're sharing that, because faith is so important to a lot of people, myself included. I didn't have a very strong faith growing up, but I mean, I always felt like a connection to, the earth and the people around me. Like I felt a very deep connection. And so it's important if you want to be a part of that community that you are welcome.
I think this is part of one of the reasons why, I have had some issues with religion in general. Because
for sure. Yeah, I understand that.
I wasn't gay and I really didn't know anybody who was gay and I really didn't think much about it a whole lot. There was something about that anti-gay messaging going on that made me feel uncomfortable. Because I think from an early age, I just felt like, I don't think this is a choice for people. I think they're born this way, right? And so that was one of the reasons why I've had some issues with the church and religion in general.
I think that makes perfect sense.
So for me, But
this has been a great talk, and thanks for all of your hard work, Mom. You've been you don't have to go down the rabbit hole every single time, but we appreciate.
In this particular case, I really felt like I wanted to. Yeah,
you really wanted to dive deep into it, and I think, and you just look very sad right now, and I think that's because of all the research you've done.
No, it's more than that too, but
yes, much more than that.
That is the thing I will say. The 1946, the documentary, it will make you sad. In more than one place. But there's also some good things in it too.
We're not trying to appeal to your emotion.
No.
But we're just telling you will be emotional.
You will be emotional. Yeah.
Get ready to be emotional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We will recap the further research of Sue on the next episode.
Okay, everybody. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for meeting me where I am.
You're welcome.